Hello everybody, hopefully we're live and this is working as expected. My name is Cezar, I am a diagram architect for Machinations. This week Matthew is on vacation, so it's just gonna be me and Mo here handling the stream. Mo, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Sure, so hey everyone, I'm Mo. I handle game design relations at Machinations. I'm a game designer, and today I'm very excited to diagram with Cezar the dynamics of a TCG trading card game, where trading is one of the core mechanics. And what's really interesting about this is sort of the social dynamics that play a big part in real life TCGs. So taking a trip down memory lane to the days of Pokemon cards and Magic booster packs, even baseball cards for those of the fans of the sport. So we're talking about basically booster packs, opening booster packs, the probability of card rarity, and also one of the things that's very interesting is trading duplicates. Or maybe not even trading a duplicate, but a card for a higher value card based on needs. And finally, how the dynamic changes as a new player joins that group and adds more cards to the total pool. Very excited to talk about collecting cards with Cezar today.
Yeah, so we're not going to be focusing on the gameplay aspect of TCGs. As Mo said, we're going to be focusing on the social aspect. When I was younger, I did used to play some TCGs myself, and it's true that the social aspect is quite important because most of my friends were playing it. All of us were collecting cards. All of us had different cards. We were trading them between us, right, at different values maybe. So I totally get where you're coming from. This is what we're gonna attempt to achieve today. Maybe have some pack opening examples, have some trading mechanic examples, having again people joining in the group, bringing on more cards to the table. Now, Mo, for this, I'm thinking on how my first thought is how we should separate these cards between them. So, should we do it by rarity? That's the first thought that comes to mind, probably.
Absolutely. I think, when designing TCGs, one of the things that, is important is to make sure that there's different rarities of cards and, start designing the balance accordingly and the dynamics accordingly too. And I think what's really interesting is how rarity can happen. So, there's power levels, cards, that are much stronger. And we see that in games like Hearthstone, for example, although that's not a real life TCG. But if we go back to the example of Pokemon cards, one of the things that defined rarity was, sure, power level was a part of it, but there's also aesthetics, right? So if you remember, Cesar, there was the shiny cards. Yeah. You had a regular Charizard and a shiny Charizard. Yeah. And the aesthetics provided the sense of rarity, that's outside of the power level. And that doesn't affect the gameplay, but affects the value of the card when it comes to the trading, which is what we're focused on today.
Yes, that is correct. I remember having shiny cards, and they really were valuable just because they were shiny. I mean, the cards weren't even good, but because they were shiny, it added so much value to them. Hello, Mateus. Hello, Matthew. Glad you could find the time to watch us on this wonderful day from the beach, probably. So first things first, let's define all of the rarities that we have. I'm just going to place a pool for each of them. I'm just going to name the one called shiny from the start, so we have it here. Now, of course, the rarities are kind of up to us. We can have them as, I don't know, common, rare, epic. The rarity isn't actually a thing. It's more like their power level. If they're commons, they're kind of weaker cards that everyone has. And I'll just go rare, epic. I don't know if we should go legendary as well. Maybe it would be nice to have that. I'm not sure if we should also do shiny common, shiny rare, shiny epic, because I imagine that the shiny epic, like getting a shiny Pikachu, was like the hottest thing.
Right. So I think shiny is good as its own category.
Okay.
For the sake of abstraction.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna name it legendary, going back to the World of Warcraft rarity examples, and those are gonna be the types of cards that we have that the player open. First off, we can just simulate a pack opening mechanic just to have an easy understanding of how this goes. Now, obviously, we don't have the actual chances and numbers of getting cards. We're just going to make them up. But opening a pack is going to look something like, let's say we open, I don't know how many cards the packs that you used to open have, Mo. In my case, we used to open 10 card packs. Yeah?
Right.
Okay. So we'll just go with 10. The random gate is perfect for this. Obviously, we're going to have a distribution based on randomness because each pack, unless it's stated to contain at least one type of card, is just going to have random stuff in it. You can see that Matthew's helping me out here. Mo, yeah, force of habit. And the shine is going to be our most rare one. I'm just going to put it like even below 1%. Just put like a 0.5%. Common is going to be our most common one, 50% maybe. Rare I'm going to put at 25. Epic I'm going to put at 10. And I think that if we add those up, we could maybe make rare a bit more, like 30. And epic make it 50. and our legendary, I think, comes up with, we don't even have to stress too much about it, because even if we go above 100%, and this is a general rule for the random gate, if we go above 100%, what the random gate will do is it will take the proportions that we have on each of the connections. So right now, if I don't want to, obviously because I have a 0.5% here, the total isn't going to be 100%. It is important, however, that it is above 100%. So for instance, I feel like the rare is a bit too much compared to the common right now, so I'm just going to increase the chances on the common, not even care about the rest. As long as it's above 100%, it doesn't matter. If it was below 100%, however, that would be a problem, because there is also a chance that the gate just doesn't transfer the resource anywhere and just drains the resource on the spot. And obviously, we want to open 10 cards, we want to get 10 cards. So, yeah. A simple mechanic like this, if I hit play right now, each step I'm going to open a pack which is containing 10 cards. And you can see the distribution is quite... I would say pretty realistic. I used to get commons a lot. I mean, I used to get a lot of the weaker cards very often. Very rarely I would get a good card. The chance of a shiny is so low that it's really, really unlikely that we'll get one. We can pump that up if we want. But this is a very good simulation of how a pack opening looks like in a TCG with such commons. Now, I'm guessing, Mo, we should either move to having multiple people, or do we want to have a general pool of all the cards that the people in the group have?
Right, so I think we definitely want to make a pool, but one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I remember with certain card games there would be thematic packs. So aside from the random booster packs, you have like a thematic pack with like 60 cards or something, and you're meant to just buy one because it's the exact same cards in that theme pack. So you have like fire theme or ice theme, and you know exactly what cards you're getting. And what we did as players was we buy the theme packs, and then, let's say the collection of cards was 100, the theme packs 1,000, the theme packs would give you like 700, and you'd have to get the other 300 from the booster packs because they weren't in any of the theme packs. So by buying theme packs, you'd already have a base set that would kick you off as a player with synergized cards so that you can use for the battling mechanic, which we're not doing today. So I just wanted to ask you, is that something you want to add to the diagram, or should we just keep it booster packs for now?
No, we can add it for sure. I just want to make sure that I fully understand. So the thematic packs give you know exactly what cards you're going to receive with them, right?
Right. So you end up buying one of each, which would, let's say that the card game total has 1,000 cards, you'd get around 600 to 700 from the thematic packs, and the rest you'd only get from the booster packs. And what's really interesting is that everyone in the group ends up buying the thematic packs so that they can, get ahead and get the base cards that synergize from the get-go. So actually, those 700 cards, if you have like 5 players in a friend group, what usually happens is that all the 5 players bought the thematic packs because they had unique cards to each theme. So you'd have 5 duplicates of every card. So that was just something that was very interesting.
Yeah, I get it. But this also opens up the question for me. In the pools that we currently have here, are the total amount of cards that you have. It's not uniqueness in a sense. Do you think we should incorporate uniqueness as well? As in individual cards? Let's say there's a total of 1,000 possible cards.
Yeah, so I think it'd be good to have like an understanding of our game has 1,000 cards, and we can sort of like filter out duplicates for the trading mechanic through that.
Yep. Let's put a number. I don't know if we're actually going to use this, but I'll just have it here in case we need it later. Now this is going to be total number of cards. I also want to make a unique number out of them. So I guess that we can either make a separate pack opening mechanic. Let's just, for instance, if I duplicate this, Control D is the shortcut for that, and move it to the right, I can simply create the chances of getting a new card. Now, how is that going to work? that's gonna work. So let's say that I'm just gonna place, there's a text, let me just quickly hit a refresh here. Okay, now we're gonna, let me also enable the grid. So for those of you that don't know, we have a grid function here. You can change it, you can give it different colors, you can remove it entirely if you want to. I usually leave it as light gray because it helps me align the objects. Yeah, so the way in which we're going to handle this is I'm just going to have the idea is that each comment that you get, for instance, let's single out comment for a second, the chances that you get further comments should decrease. On a simple, very basic level of not complicating this too much, it would look something like minus 0.1%, something like this. So now if we hit play and watch at us collecting cards, you're going to see that the chance of getting commons decreases. So this is unique commons. Maybe I should change the name as well. With each unique common that we get, the chance to get another unique common decreases because you already have some of them. This is on a very basic level. We can do it a bit more professionally if we have a total amount of unique commons that we know are available to the player. I'm thinking if we should do that or not while you rename the pools on the bottom. Maybe just put it on the right here. Total unique commons, and just duplicate this for all of the rarity. Chinese. Not sure if that's the way to type it. I hope it is. Total unique epic. And also legendary. All right. Now it's one key. I'm just gonna split them in a dumb way. I'm not gonna think too much about it. Let's say that we have 700 commons. This time it's important that we do get the 1000 margin. So 200 rares. The shinies maybe should have a different pool because it's not like they matter in the 1000 equation. So let's say 75 epic, 25 legendary. So with that we've hit 1000. Shinies, I'm just not gonna even make the unique shinies. The unique shiny chance is just gonna be 0.5% every time. You can get each of the 1000 cards shiny if you're lucky. It doesn't really matter. It's not dependent on how many of them you already have or not. While Mo is doing something fishy on the bottom here, we can have it so our chances to get a common decrease on the difference that we have between unique commons and the total amount and the ones that we actually have. So if we place a register in here, connect those two in the middle, this is going to give us the difference. So this is going to be the available, or let's call them unowned common cards. This should give us the chance of getting them. So the lower the unknown common pool is, the lower the chance that we get those cards should be. So this is the one that should probably influence our chances. It should be so that whenever you have all 700 unique cards, it should be 0% here. So just on a simple way to do that would be minus 0.1%, which was not planned at all. So now if you have all 700 of them, this chance will be 0%. We can't get any more unique commons. We can do the same for the rest of them. I'm just gonna add it real quick. It's gonna be a bit trickier here because the chances aren't as convenient as they were before. I'm tempted to just adjust these. I have a better idea actually. We can make it so it's 700% because again, only the proportions matter, and we give the chances according to the total number. That would be probably easier to do. And we also need to boost the shinies. In this case, I'm gonna boost it to 10%, let's say. And now the difference is gonna be we're gonna decrease it by 1%. It makes sense. Now this all should be easier to do. Always remember to put, when you are working with percentages, like on this connection here, always remember to put percentage on your state connection as well. So if I were to remove the connection here, the percentage on the connection, and I were to hit a step, for instance, and you can see that because I have 200 and it's -1, it decreases 20,000%. Now that's because one is considered 100%. So if you add one or decrease one via state connection, it's gonna mean 100%. That's why it's important to add percentage in here as well, so that it actually decreases only the 200%. The math here is wrong. I can sense it just because it's 0% from the start. The chance should decrease. Oh, we should probably... I'm thinking of how to do the math here. You mind adding the other registers here more while I think about how to do this, because the chance should decrease based on the... It should decrease based on the commons actually. Yeah, like this. Oh, that flew away. This kind of happens when we live edit and tinker with the same node at the same time. Weird stuff happens, so just so you know why that node decided to fly away. And the last -1% is here. Well, it was fine. I saw you duplicating with connections. It was fine. You could just change the... Yeah, this the register doesn't really provide much right now. It just tells us how many cards we are missing. But other than that, the cards that we currently have are the ones deciding if we get less or less. Right now, if we're gonna hit here, we're gonna just continuously open packs. You can see that all of our pools are increasing. The number of unknown commons are decreasing. You know, while I'm doing this, I'm also, so you can see that with each iteration we're gonna improve this. I'm thinking that at the moment the player keeps getting 10 unique cards for each pack, right? There's not really anything stopping them. So maybe we can make it so that they get duplicates instead. And we can make it so that they get duplicates instead if we make those 70 and 20 and all of the other stuff. So that way it can drop below 100% and the gate can start swallowing, draining some of those resources away. This is going to be a constant of 1%. I'm just going to leave it there.
But wouldn't it be important to find a way to sort of put the duplicates in the pool so that we can use them for the trading mechanic in the future?
We can. Let me see. Let me think of how to do that actually, because I'm not sure how to do it, honestly. You can see that the player already, this, by the way, this should not be -1, this should be -0.1. I'll think about it, but I don't have an idea right now. I think we should maybe move on while I think about it. Maybe, yeah, I'll figure something out, but at the moment I'm not seeing it. Yeah, where do we want to go from here?
So from here we wanted to sort of start with the pool of friend groups, right? Or the amount of friends in the group and how much cards each one has. So the dynamic comes with the fact that you're not playing alone, but you're playing with other people, and they're collecting cards, and they're getting cards that you don't have, and you're getting cards they don't have, and that's what fosters the trading mechanic.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Just...
Sure. So essentially, just differentiating between the different friends in the player group. So we need to set a number of players in the friends group. Let's say there's 5 friends, 3 are currently playing, and you get cards they don't have, they get cards you don't have, and that's what fosters the trading mechanic in the game. And then hopefully by the end of the live stream, those final 2 friends, we want to bring them in. So those 3 friends that were playing convince the other 2 friends who fall into the peer pressure. They start buying their cards. And so we sort of see how the dynamic changes from like 3 players in the friends group collecting and trading cards to 5 players doing that.
Okay, then I'm thinking that if we're thinking unique cards, then let's call this, for instance, the packs that one friend opens, I guess. But the pools of cards should be common, right, for all of them, because we're going for unique cards between all players, right?
Right, but the reason why I was sort of thinking about the duplicates is because the dynamic usually happens that you tend to trade the cards that you have a duplicate of, unless there's a really big value in both of the cards being traded, where maybe someone's trading a duplicate, but to you, they want a unique card, and you're willing to give up that unique card because their duplicate card is much stronger than your unique card, for example. So they get to complete a card in their collection, whereas you trade the unique card for a unique card, but the new one you're getting is more powerful. So that sort of dynamic.
Yeah, okay. I think I figured out how to make duplicates in here, because we're obviously going to need them. Now it is going to look messy. I guess I'm just going to draw the pool to the bottom for a bit, because I'm going to make them on the left here. Now, the idea that we're going to have for those... I connected that with the state connector. The idea that we're going to have for those is we're going to... should I make a duplicate shiny? I think I will make it upstairs. I'll really like it. Something. This should be point. Yeah, let's just ignore that, doesn't matter. But for the other ones, for the common rares and epics, let's actually just duplicate those. Delete this here. And just change the name from delete to duplicate on each of them. And we're gonna have, again, chances. Now, the way we've handled the right part is that our total chances, aside from unique shiny, the rest of the chances amount to 100% and decrease over time. We're actually gonna, as well as decreasing those chances, we're gonna increase the chances for duplicates. So it should work in the sense that the total chance here should be around 100% and everything. So for each unique common that we have, our chance of getting a duplicate is increased by plus 0.1%. So basically the same idea as here, just instead of subtracting the number, we add the number in. I'm just gonna make this thickness of 1 point so it doesn't really clutter, and add them to the rest. So the rare is gonna influence the rare, and so on. Plus 0.1%, and this goes. Okay. And now if we hit play again, and those are, yeah, this is nice. I can explain this now. You can see that the whole thing is grayed out. That's because and you can read the error if you hover over the gates. Gates require all their active output resource connections to be of the same type, conditional or random. So this is because on the right side I have percentages, and on the left side I have integer numbers. I forgot to change those to percentages. But basically, when you use a random gate or a deterministic gate for that matter, it will be disabled unless you have full integer numbers or full percentage numbers. So these are gonna start at 0%, all of them, because there's no chance that you're gonna get duplicates right in the first pack. I mean, there is technically a chance, but it's like so low. I don't recall ever getting 2 of the same card in a pack that I opened. So now you can see that the commons that we get are actually increasing our chances to get duplicates. Obviously, there's a lot of cards, so we just got our first duplicate. And at some point when supposedly we have all 100 cards in the collection, all that we're going to get are going to be duplicates, because yeah, that's all that's left for our players. So this structure is going to be one player. Am I right, Mo? Because they're going to have their own duplicates, they're going to have their own uniques.
Correct. I think what would be cool is to, for the sake of simplicity, is to maybe have 2 players play and then we add a 3rd player at the end and see how the dynamic changes.
Yeah, probably would be easier. But so we can just take this. This is going to be our player 1. We can just duplicate the whole construction here, drag it a bit to the side. This is going to be our player 2. I'm just going to place a text note here to say, so we can keep track of which player is which. Keep the text, I don't know, 40 bold. Okay. Mo is doing the same on the other side. And this is going to be our 2 players. They're going to have uniques and duplicates. If I hit play right now, you're going to see that when we open these packs, over time, our first player already got a duplicate epic. So he only got 2 epics, but one of them already was a double. So that's pretty unlucky for him. So yeah, both of our players are collecting cards in the meantime. Now is probably the time, Mo, where we introduce trading. Am I right?
Yep. Trading. So I think there's 2 aspects that come to trading. First of all, you're trading to complete your collection. So you want to give away your duplicates. Ideally, you want to give away a duplicate and get a new card. And the other factor is, well, what happens in a situation where you're trading a unique card, but you're getting a higher value unique card. So you could be willing to trade a unique card if you're getting a higher value or a shiny aesthetic card in return.
That is true, yeah. I'm thinking, so we shouldn't really think of them as individual cards. We should only think of them as rarities, for simplicity's sake. I'm thinking of making the logic of trading between players interactive, so that we can control when they trade between each other. Now, we should probably have some sort of a system in mind, like someone may trade 2 duplicate rares for, I don't know, 1 duplicate epic, for instance, that the other player has, right, and make the swap that way. I don't think we should cover all the possibilities, because obviously players can go for a lot. But one simple example, let's just make the one that I just mentioned, where one player, let me just move those sources here, or maybe, yeah. One player trades, let's say, 2 of their duplicate rare cards for 1 of the duplicate epic card of another player. Now, what should happen here is that those 2 rares that the first player trade, as Mo mentioned, should be cards that the second player doesn't have, right? And the epic card that the player receives for that should be a card that they don't have as well. So what's going to happen, I think we're going to actually use a trader here. I think we're going to use color-coded resources for like the first time ever in a model. Let's see if it works or not. I'm thinking of how to do it, because I feel like this is the perfect example of using a trader, but I'm not sure how to do the color coding part here. The other option is to just have triggers. So there's 2 ways to do this. One would be, I'm just gonna show everyone both of them. One would be use a trader, take 1 card from duplicate rare, and send it to take 2 cards from duplicate rare and send them to unique epic. So 2 of these will trade for 1 unique epic, and send 1 from duplicate epic and trade it into 2 unique rares. So this is going to be the process. The problem with this is that if I hit play, you're going to see that it's grayed out because it needs color coding. So the trader is the only node in Machinations that has to use color coding. So if, for instance, if I had, let's say, green resources, let's say I had 10 of them, and the duplicate epic had 5, and they can be black, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna activate filters in here. Should be black. This should be green because we have green resources, and green. So right now, if I hit play here, you're gonna notice that the trader is available, and if I do choose to trade, you'll see that we will be trading those duplicates for epics and vice versa. Now, I'm not sure how to do the color coding, so I'm not gonna go down this path. I'm gonna go instead on the more complicated path, obviously, and we're just gonna use a triggering gate in here. And this is a good example for everyone to see in case you don't really know which node is best to use in a certain situation. The triggering gate is your best buddy in those cases, because although it kind of complicates the model, at least you're certain of what you want to achieve with it. So let me just turn this back to black and 0, and 0 as well. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna just manually do the converting ourselves. So I'm gonna place the converter here. I'm gonna set it to pull all. It's gonna make it as passive, and we're gonna take the duplicate rare, 2 of them, and send it into the unique epic. And we'll need another converter to do it the other way around. So I'm gonna place one at the bottom. It's so relaxing when Matthew's not here and I can just make a whole mess of the model and no one complains. So we're gonna do it the other way around. Take 1 duplicate epic and turn it into 2 unique rares. I'm gonna arrange those for a bit, but just to show how this works, and have the triggering gate trigger both of them. So this is essentially how a trader would work. This is the replacement for a trader, basically, by using 2 converters. The advantage of a trader is that it's obviously less of a headache to implement it. The advantage of using 2 converters is that you don't have to use color coding. Right now, if I hit play and wait for the players to collect some of these cards, I need 1 more duplicate rare for the first player. once they do get that, they did. Now we can change, and there we go. Maybe I should slow that down a bit, but you saw that the trade happened, the rares went into epics, the epics are going into rares, and that in turn decreases the chances of getting those new cards later on. So this would be the mechanic. Let me put it 5 seconds really slow and do the trade next step so we can see the resources moving. There we go, and it's gonna add the epic there. So this is a way to do it. Now, Mo, seeing this, how many of these do you think we should add? Seeing this mess that's going on here.
Yeah, so
okay.
There's I was just thinking, there's sort of the one where we're trading duplicates. I wanted to do another one where we're sort of trading unique cards, but for different power levels. So I'm giving a unique card, and I'm getting a unique card in return with a higher power level, or maybe a shine.
Okay, that is fair. Yeah, it should also be a unique player for the unique card for the player receiving. So if I'm giving a legendary for, let's say, a shiny, for instance, it should be a unique legendary for the player receiving it, because they would probably have no interest in getting a duplicate. I'm just gonna put these to 1 and just gonna make them straight lines, so there's just no god here. There we go. So let's do that trading mechanic here. I'm just gonna do, let's say, a unique legendary for shiny. Doesn't matter if it's unique or, I mean, I guess it's gonna be unique, because what's the chance of getting a duplicate? So yeah, just move this a bit to the left. Let's make another trading mechanic here. It's gonna duplicate this small system. Move it to the right a bit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give one legendary and give that to, so we're gonna take one of the player 1's unique legendary cards and give it to player 2, and the player 2 will take one of their unique shiny cards and give it to player 1. So this one is a lot easier to do. You don't even need converters here. You could potentially use gates, so it doesn't really make a difference if you use converters or gates in this case. If we hit play right now, first let's select these connections, them a thickness of 1. We can also hide them if we want to. We can maybe, you can see that I'm showing layers here. Layers are a great way to model your diagram and make sure it doesn't clutter too much. You can create a layer in here. Let's call it trading, for instance. And I selected the objects that I want to move. I select move selection to layer, and now they're moved in the trading layer. And if I want to hide this, it's going to hide these nodes and all the connections that come in contact with them. So if I'm not interested in the trading aspect and I don't want it to clutter my model, I can just hide it in the trading layer. With that being said, I'm gonna start an execution again. Now, we got a shiny, okay, and we got a legendary here. So if we do the trade right now, player 1 receives a shiny, player 2 receives a legendary, which they didn't have, so it's a good trade for them, and they can repeat the trade because they have the cards. So again, they have one more shiny left, so it works. So this is how the trading works between players. We can probably, we can for sure automate this in some way or form, but it's not something that we're gonna do today, I think, because it probably needs some formal rules in there, which I'm not going to think about right now. So is there any other form of trading that you were thinking about, Mo?
So what I was actually thinking is seeing, sort of connecting the players to the total number of cards and seeing both players sort of like get their 1,000 cards, and then doing those same trades by adding a third player and seeing, when a third player enters the mix and is able to get a lot more cards, how much, accessible it is for the card pool now that it's increased and now there's more duplicates, how players are able to trade much faster and get the cards they want much faster. So that's sort of like the simulation I was thinking of in my mind.
I see. So we do need to add a third player in here. I'm thinking if we should count the total amount of unique cards that we have, but that looks like it would be pretty hard to do. At least that's my first sensation. For starters, let's just add a third player and we'll take it from there. Just duplicate here. I lost the selection there, so I'm just gonna duplicate again. Move this to the right. This is gonna be our player 3. I'm gonna add a text node here to stall what I think about it. It could be font. Or not. Anyway, so this is gonna be our player 3. I'm also thinking that we should add them later in the mix, so the first players get to open, let's say, 20 steps worth of packs, and then player 3 comes in and starts playing the game and starts opening their own packs. So I'm just gonna add a sort of an artificial delay in here. So when the execution starts, I'm gonna count some steps, and when I reach, let's say, step 20, so I'm gonna make this greater or equal than 20. When I reach step 20, the third player will start opening packs as well. So if I hit play right now, let's just make sure that works. Yeah, we're counting steps, and when we reach 20, our third player will start opening packs as well. So the other players will already have quite a lot of cards before the third player starts to play. Now, obviously, now that I look at this, I'm really glad we didn't do it with 5 players. We're gonna have to do separate trading between each individual player, because player 1 can trade with 2, player 1 can trade with 3, and so on. So since they're close to each other, I'm just gonna have player 3 first trade with player 2. Again, we're gonna need the same trading idea that we have here, and what's the type of trade that we want here, Mo?
So it's similar to the unique legendary for unique shiny, but what we want to do is give a player. So a player that has duplicate legendaries is willing to give one of the legendaries away for a unique, either rare or epic card from the other player. And that means that the other player so the player with the 2 legendaries is willing to give away one of the legendaries to get a lower power card that's unique, and the person with the unique lower power card is willing to give it away to get a unique higher power level card.
I see. It does. Yeah. So duplicate legendary will go for unique legendary for the second player because they don't have it, and they will give a unique epic for that. So it will become a unique epic for the second player. So first player gives one of their duplicates to the second player. Second player gives one of their unique lower rarity cards to the first player. I got it right. Yeah.
Right. That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. One thing that I'm noticing now, and we should probably fix this, is let's use this example that we have right now. I don't think I've connected this properly. This is connected. This is connected. Why is this disabled? It has multiple. Is this? Let's delete this. Move it again. So it says that, you can read the error as well, everyone. Converters require at least one active input resource connection, and exactly what. Oh yeah, I get it why. Let me pause so everyone can understand what's going on here. The converter is disabled. That's because it requires at least one active input connection. This connection is disabled because the pool is disabled, so the connection cannot be enabled. Now that I click on it during execution, it enables. But because the whole system here is unavailable until we reach step 20, the conversion is impossible. Which is fair because there's no way for the player to get unique epics unless they play the game and open packs. I'm just gonna let it run to step 20 since we're almost there, and we're gonna notice that now everything becomes available, the trading becomes available. Yeah. One thing that I'm wondering about here though is, even if in this case right now, let's just artificially create a duplicate legendary in here. Let's put 3 of them. For instance, the trade should never happen, because if I hit trade right now, one part of the trade will happen. So the first player will give it, their legendary to the second one, or player 2 to player 3 rather. But this is not correct, as the other part of the trade did not occur. So we should make it so only when both of them are available does the trade actually happen. And I'm not sure how to make that without using conditions and without cluttering the model even more. I am thinking about it. Maybe I don't see any other way. So one way to do it, I'm just gonna show the first idea that comes to mind for me in this type of situation, is to actually check if we have the required cards before we make the trades. So the cards that are required for trading are gonna be the duplicate legendary and the unique epic from the other player. So we must check if those two are present in here. And the way we're gonna do that is A times B. Because this acts as a logical AND. So now if I put the condition here of greater than 0, it means that those two need to be above 0. And if both of them are above 0, then the trade becomes an option for the player. And this should be added here as well for the other trades. Now, obviously the chances of getting duplicate legendary, and we can just make this automatic. For instance, just for the sake of quick running, just to show how a quick run works. So whenever the player 2 and player 3 have their required cards in here, they will be able to make the trade. Just for showing how a quick run would look like, I'm gonna stick a source in here, for instance. Gonna put a trigger on it, and gonna count the number of trades. So if we stick this into the chart, make it, I don't know, give it a different color, I guess. Let's make it red, and let's do 1000 steps, for instance. Let's see in 5 quick plays how many of those trades occur. Now there shouldn't be a lot of them, because duplicate legendaries are kind of hard to come by with those chances, but hopefully we'll get more than 0. Oh, we got quite a few. So this is because obviously the players are opening, so our total card base is 1000 cards, right? And we are opening 10 cards per step. In 1000 step, we are opening 10,000 cards. So we are opening 10 times the amount of total cards that we have available. So you can also, something to notice in the chart here is that during the beginning of execution, the curve that we have here is a bit more flat, right? Because we're at the beginning, we don't receive that many duplicates. All of the cards that we kind of open are pretty unique. And then after we start getting all of the cards, you can see that it gets a lot more steep, and we open a lot more duplicates towards the end. So a lot of more trades happen because of that. So you can see that in our example here, let's just single out a single execution and highlight it. Actually, we can select all of them and just have an average in here. Just put an indicator, mean average. So on average, we get about 214 trades, which is a lot. And a lot of that happens in the later stages of the execution. We probably shouldn't test against 1,000 steps. We should test against 100 maybe. The results should be different if we start 5 new quick plays right now. Let's not show these in chart, and let's start another 5 quick plays with 100 steps. This is because we have the, let me clear and let's load them now. There we go. You can see that in the beginning we get no duplicates whatsoever, so there's no way we are doing trades. Later on we do get those trades. There's an average of 9 trades, 9.8 trades towards the end of the model. So we're getting quite a lot of duplicates here. We can obviously just, aside from the trades, we can have a look at how much duplicates we get. If we plot the pools here, we can have a look at how much unique cards we get if we plot the pools here, and the unknown ones. So a lot of options to track in here. So obviously bringing a third player in should simplify. I want now Mo to try and do a simulation where in one example we have only 2 players that are capable of trading, and in the second example we have all 3 of them, and show what the difference is because of that. You know, when a third player enters the combination, what the result would be. So I would like to do, let's just focus on 2 types of trades right now. So let's just, for the moment, delete this one. And we're going to do 2 types of trades between. So we're going to be looking at player 2. Player 2 is going to be the one that we're going to track. I'm not going to be looking at trades. We're going to do it a bit differently. So player 2 is trading duplicate legendaries for unique epics. Now we can make it so there's 2 ways we can do this. Mo, let me know your thoughts on this. I'm thinking if we should have player 2 trade the same cards with the other 2 players. So for instance, player 2 is willing to give up their duplicate legendaries, if they should do the same for player 1, or instead they should try to acquire duplicate legendaries from player 1 so that they can exchange with player 3.
Right. So here's the thing. When you're sort of, playing these trading card games, you're right. In theory, this is the path of least resistance. This is how you sort of build your flow. You're sort of like a merchant, and you're getting legendary so you can give them away and get more unique cards, right? And that's sort of like your business, quote unquote. But the thing is that it's very rare that players think like that when it comes to trading card games. Like, they don't think of, I'm gonna create a process whereas I maximize my chances to get certain cards by hoarding certain cards and trading them for other unique cards. What usually happens is you open booster packs, you get opportunities, and whatever opportunity arises in the moment from a discussion with your friends, you go for the trade. So to keep it as natural as possible, I'd like to avoid that sort of scenario. And what I would like to focus on is making it more free flowing. But one of the things I noticed is that what's happening here is that player 2 is getting a ton of unique epics through trades. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you mean, because they this is done. We should limit. So good shout, because we have unique epic here, and we decrease the chances of the player receiving them from booster packs, but that doesn't account for trading. So if the total of 75 unique epics was reached by the player and they keep trading, they will still spawn unique epic cards even though they should not exist. That's a flaw that Mo correctly saw here. We can do that by limiting the capacity in here to 75, and we can limit all of the other capacities to their respective unique numbers. So 200 for rare, 700 for common, not resources, capacity. Let's do this one for player 3 as well, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, you do player 3, I'll do player 1.
Yep, teamwork. I'm gonna do 25 here. Okay. Shiny, I'm gonna cap it at 1000 if for some unknown reason the player is extremely lucky. And the duplicates do not need any caps because, yeah, if the player buys packs, they can own however many cards they want. One other thing that I'm thinking of right now is one special case that I'm thinking about right now. So let's just look at the trade here. I want to make a quick test. So let's say that we have our max amount of epics in, but we are able to trade more. What happens then? This is something I wanna see. So we have our max unique epic cards here, so there's no way that player 3 will give player 2 another unique card. Let's see what what happens when I hit step. Okay, so the trade still happens, but unique card is not generated. Now obviously the trade shouldn't happen, which also means that our condition here needs to be a bit more complex than what it is, which is unfortunate but is correct. This is a very good observation. I initially didn't see that. So the other condition here for the so we're not only going to receive from duplicated legendary and unique epic, we're also going to receive from the other players that should receive. Now you can see that this is very messy. One thing that I like to do, especially with state connections, is to have their thickness set to 1. You can see much easier on the eyes now, and I usually try to have them modeled in some form that does not bother the eye too much. I usually even try to overlap them to the best of my ability, so maybe like this. So now it's a bit more ordered, something like so. And let's try and do the same with the research connections in here. Okay, maybe we'll hover over the state connections. So like so, and the last one, there we go. That looks way better now. Let's also set the timer here. Okay. Okay, so I sent in from unique epic, I sent C, and we should also take into account the fact that, so I'm just gonna add more AND type logic here. So whenever I want to add AND type logic, I multiply. Whenever I want to add OR type logic, I add. because I want all of these conditions to be true. I'm going to add n type logic, so I'm going to multiply, and it should be that we don't have all of the unique epics at our disposal. So player 2 should not have all of their unique epics at their disposal. So we're going to check that small or equal a comparison function which returns either 0 if it's false or 1 if it's true, and we're going to put C and 75. So this will check if C, which comes from unique epic, is smaller or equal to 75. And I did not, by the way, this is something that you should remember here. I'm going to show it to you, especially for those of you that make larger constructions. So I typed my formula into the register here, and now if I click on another node, you can see that it doesn't update. So especially when you type longer ones, always make sure to either hit enter or click on the canvas. So if I were to add something different here, clicking on the canvas will also work. But if you click on another node, it will not update. So also, if you messed up what you wanted to type and you don't want it to be saved, you can just type on click on another node and it will not be saved. Just as a force of habit, usually press enter after you type your formula in. And we also want to check that the unique legendaries coming from here. Actually, I don't think we need to check them. Yeah, we don't. We need to check the what was the trade again? The trade was that we give duplicate legendary for unique epic. Oh no, we give a legendary to the other player. Oh yeah, so we have to check that their legendaries are not total. So D we're going to compare to 25. So it's going to be times smaller equal D 25. All of those four conditions combined. Now if I were to have all of my epics, for instance, in here, and I do have the components to make the trade, and if I hit play, and it was still true for some reason. Oh yeah, because it's smaller equal, it should be smaller. Yeah, because it's smaller equal, this is 75, so it's equal, so it works. So it should not be smaller equal here, it should be just smaller. So if it's 75, it's false. This is interesting. Oh yeah, I didn't change the numbers here. It's A instead of C. Yeah, that's why. There we go. Now it works. So see, this is how debugging works usually when you see a model and something's wrong in there and you know that something's wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Hitting step, watching what happens during a step is probably the best way to do it. You can have an overview over everything. Yeah, so now the trading works between the two. Now you were thinking that our players aren't really trading geniuses, so they don't really care about maximizing the advantages of the trades. One thing that I want to do right now is, so for instance, the way we're limiting player 3 of only opening packs after a certain point, I want to do the same with player 1 and do it so that they only open packs for the first 20 steps of the execution, because players aren't going to open packs forever. At some point they're probably going to be content with what they have and they're only going to acquire new cards with trading. So I'm thinking that the veterans should probably do that. This is going to be while it's lower than 20, and I'm also going to do the same for the second player. So I can just drag a connection from here and make it lower than 20. Also, I want the third player after 20 steps not to keep opening packs until we reach 100 steps. I want them to only do so between 20 and 40 steps. And there is a way that we can do that, which is typing 20, 2 dots and 40. Now, placing this on a state connection means that while the value inside the pool is between 20 and 40, including those two numbers, the condition is true. So this is basically interval in a sense on state connection. Cool. Now, what are the trades that we want to do here? Well, we have the one between player 2 and player 3 with the epics and the legendaries. What are the ones that we want to do between player 1 and player 2, the veterans, so to speak, that will end up with a limited amount of cards after 20 steps?
Right. So
you can ignore this. I'm gonna remake it. So yeah, don't.
So it's interesting because I'm trying to think of, what happens when a player is like, okay, I'm not buying packs anymore. I'm going to get the rest of my collection through trading. And when a player just starts the new game, and what I'm seeing is a player who, is no longer buying packs, and they have a lot of common cards, and they want to find a way to give the new player common cards or rare cards in exchange for the more epic cards. And a third player who's coming in and he's just buying new packs wouldn't mind doing that trade because they're under the assumption that I'm still going to be buying packs for a while. So it's fine for me to give away, for example, a duplicate rare for or
even a unique rare, right? Because I'll be buying packs. So
yeah, it could be a unique rare for what player 1 has is a duplicate, or sorry, a unique epic for what a player has is a duplicate rare. A player 1 has is a duplicate rare. So they give away an epic and get a rare. I don't think they do a trade for a common because it's easy to get through the booster packs. Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily trade commons except for commons.
Yeah.
But yeah, an epic. So an epic trade for a unique epic, for a duplicate rare that player 3 and player 1 could do. I also think a duplicate common for a duplicate common is something that's very natural and just happens all the time. I don't know if it's worth putting it in the diagram.
Yeah, we can do it. First thing I want to do after you mentioned this, that they will have the limited cards. I want to see how many cards they get in 20 steps. So I'm just gonna open the chart here and have a look at their unique cards. I'm just gonna give this these different colors. Again, I'm gonna go with the World of Warcraft theme. So I'm gonna make common gray. I'm gonna make rare as blue, and epic is gonna be purple, and legendary is gonna be orange. Okay, I'm gonna add this into the chart here just to see what's going on. I'm just gonna set this to 20 steps because we stop buying packs after 20 steps anyway, so it doesn't matter. And let's just do 20 quick plays because there's a low number of steps, and see, maybe place some indicators in here from the start, some averages. Let's try and place it on all of them. Average in here, and final average for legendaries. Let's hit 20 quick plays just to have an idea of how many cards they get in those 20 steps. There we go. On average, they should get 127 commons, 36 rares, 13 epics, and 4 legendaries. So these are the numbers that we're going to be working with. So player 1, player 2 will most likely have about 4 to 5 legendaries after opening their packs, about 13 epics, and about 36 rares. Now common, they're going to have a lot. We don't care about those. As Mo already said, they are easy to trade, they are easy to obtain. Nobody really focuses on them too much. So let's keep in mind that we are going to be probably working with around 4 legendaries, 4 to 5 at all times. So for the new player that's opening packs, I also saw that we had 13 odd epics. So for the new player that's opening packs and is enthusiastic, maybe they're a bit more of a spender than the other players. Maybe they just open for a lot of more steps, and they really don't care that they're trading uniques. They can, let's also duplicate this. I'm just gonna make a trade between, I don't know, player 3 and player 1, for instance, because those are the one that we looked at. This is the one where we looked at the numbers. By the way, I'm still working in the trading layer right now, as you see. So if I hide it, right? If I want to switch to working in the background layer, I will click on the layer that I want to work in. You're going to see that it becomes highlighted. And now I'm going to be working in the background layer. So if I place a node here and hide the trading layer, it's no longer there. But I'm still working in the trading layer because we're still implementing trading mechanics in here. I totally did not forget about that and just saw that and just try to remind everyone. So we're going to have the third player, which is our, let's say, more enthusiastic spender, will be willing to give, what were you saying, Mo? Were you saying give unique epics for unique rares?
And yeah, so they give a unique epic and get a unique rare, and player 1 would give a duplicate rare to get a unique epic.
Yeah, so it's a great deal for player 1. And it's
So my logic is that, as someone who's not buying packs anymore, I have to be very careful over my trades because, I'm not getting new cards into the system. I'm giving away cards to get new cards. Whereas the person I'm trading with is getting more cards into the system or into their pool because they're still buying packs. So for me, I have to be very careful if I'm player 1 to make sure that, because my total number of cards, unless I do a 2-for-1 trade, my total number of cards is going to stay the same. So I need to be very careful about how I spend them in trades, and I'm only going to give a card to get a higher rarity card. And player 3 who's still buying packs, that concern is not part of their sort of thinking at the moment because they're still buying packs, they're still getting cards into their pool. So, they'd be willing to give away a card for a lesser card, knowing that they're still going to be able to buy packs. And then the logic is, well, why would you give a unique away for another unique that's of a lower power level? And this is what's very interesting about what we're doing today, which is the social dynamics between friend groups. So all these players are friends. And the reality is if there's a friend who is in need, in this case, I'm willing to sort of, okay, here's someone who, assuming we're back to being, kids again and we're playing Pokemon, here's a friend whose parents are not going to let them buy new packs anymore. And they really want a card. And maybe I don't have as much of an attachment to that card of a higher power level or a higher rarity, but they have a card that maybe is on a lower rarity, but is a card that, either for aesthetical reasons or emotional reasons, I'm more attached to, right? For example, some people, going back to Pokemon, some people might not like the stronger Pokemon, they might like the cuter Pokemon. And so they're willing to give away, a Charizard for Clefairy, for example. And so for these reasons, it sort of makes sense, both in terms of emotional attachment to the different cards, regardless of power level, because we're assuming that power level is the only thing that is a factor in this trade, but it's not. There's, again, how players perceive certain cards, either aesthetically or emotionally. And there's the fact that these are friends. And so part of me would be willing to help out a friend knowing that they're not buying packs anymore, but I'm buying packs and I could get that card again. So these two dynamics, both the in real life dynamic, social dynamic between friends and what friendship means, affects the trade, and also the emotional attachment to the card beyond the power level is also a factor that affects the trade. So this is, I just wanted to address this as commentary because, just by looking at the diagram logically, it wouldn't make sense for someone to trade, a unique epic for a unique rare. But once you factor in these external dynamics, that trade would make sense.
Yeah, great commentary, and it's not only the so I actually had this situation happen to me when we were playing TCGs as kids, and we were playing a versus type of TCG game, right, where we collected and different cards. I had a sort of a deck that required different cards that were synergistic with each other, and even though they weren't really strong as individual cards, they were strong as those synergetic cards. So I would obviously trade some of my higher value cards that I wouldn't use anyway for some of these lower value cards, but that for me actually had high value because of the synergistic aspects. So it's not only the visual aspect, which again can be nice, and look, Matthew would give us both my cards if we needed them. That's really nice. And I would probably take them because I do tend to get pretty addicted to TCGs and card collecting. Yeah, there are different. So, for instance, if in certain games you have civilizations, right, where you have fire cards, water cards, whatever, and you are primarily making a water deck, for instance, and you will be willing to give some of your more precious fire cards to get some lower value water cards, but that are really synergistic with your deck, because it value we have here, the value that we have here is sort of a general value, right, that you see from a neutral perspective. But for each player, those cards actually have different values, right? We kind of refer to them as common, rare, epic, and legendary according to their the possibility of the player obtaining it from packs, right? So a legendary card is not necessarily a very good card, but it's a card that it's hard to obtain from this perspective, because for some players, some commons will be better than legendary. So it kind of makes sense that some players would trade legendary cards for common, even in an extreme situation, obviously. But yeah, that's why the trade that we have here totally makes sense between epics and rares. Now, we got 10 minutes left. What I want to show with this trading mechanic is we're going to do a bunch of quick plays where the first player does not engage in trading and see how many epics they get. Then we're going to do a bunch of quick plays where they do engage in trading with the new player, the third player, and then see how many epics they get at the end of that execution, and see how important this trading aspect is in TCG games. But for that, first I have to fill up this register with the necessary variables. So we're going to be trading unique epics from here. So I'll have this as A. Gonna drag it to make it look nice as a 1. B is gonna be duplicate rare. So we need to have those two types of cards to perform the trade, and we also need the receiving ones to not be filled out. Now it's not going to happen in the little number of steps that we have, but it's just best practice to be better safe than sorry. So again, because we have 75, the condition here still stands with smaller c than 75, and we are receiving a rare in here, and rares are 200. There's 200 of them, so I will be sending this as D. We'll move the connection to the right and change the condition here to 200 instead of 25. Okay, now we have this as one easy way to have this whole thing disabled, the whole trading system disabled here, is to simply make the gate passive. So if the gate is passive, nothing will happen here, even if the condition is true. Every node in here is passive, so nothing will change. So right now I'm gonna probably remove the other nodes. We're only gonna have a look at epics right now. So showing in chart, I'm just gonna leave the epics in here. And let's do, since the third player, sorry, buys between step 20 and 80, let's just do 80 steps. Numbering here 80, and let's do quick plays. Now the trading is not going to happen because it's passive here, and let's see what happens in those 80 steps. How many epics does the player receive? Now because they have, it's going to look like like this. It's going to look like a straight line because the player only opens packs until the 20th step, after which they don't. Because they do not engage in trading, the number of epics that they have will remain constant throughout the rest of the execution. So they are reaching an average of 10.9 epics at the moment. Okay, now we're going to clear the chart. I'm going to set this to automatic, so it will always perform the trade. So if the players have the necessary cards, it will always perform the trade between the two. And now we're going to fire another 10 quick plays and see the difference here with the trading mechanics in. There we go. Again, not really increasing a lot from the 20th step forward, but we are reaching an average of 15 now. So that's almost 50% more epics that the player is getting because of the trading with their friend. So obviously the social aspect plays a major role in this, and you can imagine that for uniques, a 50% going from 10 to 15 is quite a lot. But imagine the situation of a shiny, where instead of one shiny that you by some miracle open, you get to have 3 at the end just because of trading. So it's really an important aspect, and really a core aspect of TCGs, which is why it's in the name of the game. So with that, Mo, if you will bring us home, as Matthew would like to say.
Right. So this has been fantastic because, you know, we were sort of doing meta systems, and then last week we did raid bosses and moment-to-moment gameplay, and this week we touched on something completely different, which is how social dynamics can affect, you know, a game, and TCGs are perfect for that. So we were really able to sort of simulate, you know, a friend group where, you know, 2 of the players peer pressure a third player to join in, how that affects the dynamic. I loved your addition at the end where, you know, one of the players stops buying packs, and so their total pool, unless they do a 2-for-1 trade, is limited, and they have to be very cautious about how they trade from that point on. And yeah, it's been really interesting to sort of also see what affects the internal motivation to trade. So there's obviously the power level, but beyond that, there's also, well, friendship as a factor, and wanting to support friends, and, you know, maintaining that relationship with your friend on the long run. You know, you'd rather lose a card than lose a friend. And the other aspect is the emotional value derived from either, you know, personality traits or aesthetics of the card, and how people might value something outside the power level just as much, if not more, than the power level itself, and maybe doing what is deemed by, you know, the designers as a disadvantageous trade because of you know, their emotional connection to a card, or, you know, in the case that you shared, Cesar, how you're willing to trade higher value cards for, you know, lower value cards that synergized really well together. And, you know, in the actual battle mechanic of that game, you were able to perform much better actually as a player because you found synergy in these cards, and so you were willing to trade maybe higher value cards that, you know, might not have been as powerful for lower value cards that worked well in your deck, and you were using that to win in the battles. And I think that's an important point. I just want to stress on it for just a bit longer, because what we see here and what we didn't touch upon is the battle mechanic, and why synergies are important in sort of card battling games. And what you usually see is that those cards with high value, what happens is that you're used to making a deck around that high value card and synergizing lower rarity cards that you get more often with one or or 2 or 3, depending on, the card game, high value cards or high rarity cards, which are harder to get because of rarity. So what happens here is that you tend to build a deck around that. We didn't go into deck building and battling. We're just focused on trading. And if we touch upon that for a second, we'll see that one of the most important things is what you described, Chazar, which is synergy. And because it's harder to sort of get those rare cards, you tend to build a deck around a few. And that means that, in our case, we were just trying to collect as much cards as possible and complete our collection. But if we add a battle mechanic that would factor in, either the players want to battle to win games or to tournaments or leaderboards or whatever, there's another internal motivation at play here. And so players aren't just focused on building their collection, they're focused on building decks, and decks that they can compete with. And a deck needs a certain amount of cards that synergize together. And because it's hard to collect a lot of those rare cards, if you get one more rare card, you'd rather trade it away for a few less rare cards that would synergize well with your deck, and you sort of like fulfill that internal motivation to build a deck and battle with it. And I think that's very crucial as we look at the overall meta of how these card games work.
Yeah, and especially if you're talking competitive sort of card gaming, then you won't even be looking for legendaries, you would be looking for very, very specific cards. So even the pools that we have right now, where we group them by rarity, would kind of become irrelevant, because you will be looking at very specific cards that interest you in that scenario. And you won't, even if you add the ability to have duplicates in a competitive deck, that means that you would be interested in having that particular card that you want multiple times. So there's a lot more levels of depth that can be added here. But yeah, great commentary, thank you very much. For everyone watching, you can find the model in our description below. It's the same model that you're seeing right here. You can add it to your own account and play with it. I've tried my best to have some technical problems in the beginning, so no one would feel Matthew's absence here. Next week, I think we'll be back in full force and with the usual problems that we have. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we will see you next Tuesday.